Tansei, Tuao, hello, and welcome to Crafting Kinship. Today we will be finishing our beaded pins. Before jumping into it, I thought I would show us all what's in our Crafting Kinship art bundles. If you're new here or are just finding this video, Crafting Kinship is a grassroots arts and culture program that supports Indigenous youth and people on reconnection journeys through creative practice, cultural guidance, and community. Our focus is on building confidence, restoring cultural connection, and supporting mental wellness through hands-on art in a good way. We host both online and in-person sessions complete with art bundles. These art bundles are made as medicine, so people can learn wherever they are, especially if accessing culture in person isn't always possible. These sessions are about creating together, reconnecting gently, and knowing you don't have to do this alone. We learn at our own pace, in community, and in a way that feels safe, supported, and respectful. So, thanks for being here. Without further ado, let's get into it. Today we'll be edging and backing our little beaded pin. So to continue with our beaded pin here, once you have it all beaded, we want to remove the paper pattern. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our needle. It doesn't really matter if it's threaded, we mostly need the needle. I'm using the short sharp here. And what we're going to do is we're going to run it alongside the stitches of our beadwork project, just with some gentle pressure to kind of score it so we can remove that paper. Again, don't use too much pressure. We don't want to rip any of our threads, but with enough pressure that you kind of hear your needle scoring that paper. You're just going to continue gently doing that all around your project until you make it all the way around, and you should be able to just pop that paper off. Our next step here is to cut out our project. So go ahead and grab your cute little scissors from your art bundle, and we are going to trim our project. So as you can see, I'm showing you to leave a little bit of a gap when cutting around your project. It also looks super cute as I'm showing you here. It's also just to protect your threads of your project. If you are cutting too close to your project, you risk definitely cutting a thread and then you'll have some beads fall off, and that's never fun to fix. It's easy to fix at this point, but if it's something you don't notice until you've already backed your project, then you might have to take it all apart to try and fix it, and that's not really fun. So definitely just go ahead and snip around, leaving a little bit of a white edge, and that makes it easier when we get to the edging process of the beading too. And here I'm just going back and trimming it up and reflattening that shape to make it exactly how I want it. Okay, now we are getting ready to back it. So here I want to show you a couple options. So how I like to back my project is so you are not able to see the pin. So we're going to cut little holes in the backing so you are able to hide that pin. But it doesn't overly matter. What you can also do if you're a bit of a beginner, you can also just like back your project as normally with the hide and then glue your pin right on top. It doesn't overly matter. It's the back. No one's going to see it. But I'm going to go ahead and show you the other way, just in case you're a little bit more detail oriented like I tend to be. So as you can see, I already trimmed one hole and kind of started tracing the outline there on this other one. So what you're going to do is, line up your project on your hide and figure out like how it's about going to sit, and then lay your pin on top to again just kind of approximate where on your piece it's going to sit, so where it's going to kind of land on that hide. And from there, I kind of just lay it down and grab a marking utensil. Here I'm just using a pencil. And go ahead and mark where those end pieces of your pin are going to be popping out of your hide. I kind of mark little kind of squares around it since they are 3D, so they'll need a little bit of room. So there I'm just fleshing out the shape, and then we're going to go ahead and trim those little shapes out with your scissors. Here's what one of those holes look like cut out, and I'll cut off the rest off camera. I forgot to record myself tracing the flower pin, but what you'll do is just again put your project back where you wanted it, and to make sure your holes line up where you wanted it, and just do a tracing of your project around. And then here, as you can see, I'm cutting it out, but I'm making sure to leave a bit of a lip around my project. This is again to just give us that little bit of breathing room, because we can always go back and trim off the excess after, but we want to really make sure that there's enough hide to completely cover the back of our piece. So now we are going to go ahead and glue our pin on. So go ahead and grab your B7000 from your art bundle and grab your pin and make sure it is facing in the direction you want it. If there's a certain way you prefer your pin, whether it's up or down, and then kind of place it on your project to see where about you would like it, and again making sure it kind of lines up with the holes you created. And then go ahead and open up your glue and squeeze a bit of glue on the back of your project and stick your pin down. Once you have your pin stuck down, you can definitely stop here, but if you want some extra security, you can definitely also stitch it down, which is what I'm about to show you how to do here. So I definitely recommend you let your glue dry and leave your pin to dry for a bit. Otherwise it will slip and slide around and your needle will get gloopy, but for time's sakes here, I was just jumping right into it. So as you can see here, I'm just taking my needle and I'm sticking it down through one of the holes of our bar pin there, and I'm just sticking it right through the project and coming through. And what I usually do here is take it as an opportunity to just tack down some extra beads. So you kind of want to find a way to come back through like close to those other holes or come around to kind of wrap that pin down. So again, I usually kind of just find a good spot in my front of the project where it's either hidden or again helping tack down some of those beads, and I just stick back around and wrap around that pin, and I just do that as many times as I see fit. I usually try and wrap each hole at least once. So as you can see here, I'm kind of just moving over a bit, moving closer to the second hole in your bar pin, again just trying to make sure I'm not being obvious or I'm using it as an opportunity to continue tacking down those extra beads. So just continue that process for the whole pin, again making sure it's as secure as I want it to be, making sure my stitches are as hidden as I want them to be. Once you get to the end of that power pin, you can go ahead and make a knot, and here I'm showing you how to do that. So normally I go under a stitch nearby, and then as you can see here, I stick my needle in, and you're going to loop your needle around it a few times. And what that's going to do is create like a double or triple knot without you having to go back to do it a bunch of times. Here mine was just being a little finicky, but typically it will pull tight pretty smoothly for you, and you'll get a nice tight close knot without having to fuss with it a whole bunch. And there you have your little pin with your pin backing secured on. So now we can move on to the backing. So you're going to take your glue stick out of your kit, which might have seemed a little random, but again, it's just to help secure our backing onto our piece so it doesn't slip and slide when we're doing the edging. So here what you're going to do is you want to pop open your pin and slide your backing on, sticking the little details of your pin through the holes we created for them, so that way your pin will be nice and hidden behind your beautiful home tanned hide. Once you got it sitting how you want it, you can go ahead and look on the other side and make sure it looks good, and you can see how I left that lip there that we can definitely trim off after. Again, it was just to make sure we had all the room we needed. So then you go ahead and grab your glue stick from your kit, and you can rub a bit of glue on the back of your project to secure down your hide so it doesn't move too much during the edging process. I mostly focus on the middle. You'll want to leave a little bit of a lip on the edge just because later we're going to hide our knot of our beading thread in between those two layers, so you want to make sure you're able to have some access there still. Otherwise, make sure it's nice and secure and finagle it to make sure it's sitting how you want, because then we're going to go ahead and trim off all that extra hide. So here I am going ahead and trimming off all those little extra hide bits around the piece. So here we have our little flower pin with the pin on the back and backed with hide. So now we just got to get to our beaded edging. So now it's time to pull out those beads from your bundle and decide how you want to edge your piece. Again, we really want you to make these projects your own, so feel free to do whatever you want here. But here I'm going to stick with the classic because I really liked the combination of the dark orange and the white. So go ahead and just stick down the beads you need. Feel free to use a beading mat or however you want to. As we say, there is no wrong way to bead, but my personal way is honestly just dumping some beads on my desk. So bead how you feel best beading. So once you have your beads ready and your needle threaded how you prefer, we're going to go ahead and get into the edging. So here we can see I'm opening up those 2 layers like I mentioned before, and we want to stick our needle through one of those layers. I typically go through the beading project itself, and what we're doing is hiding that knot in between. See, once we close it up and once we get the edging done, you won't be able to see that knot. So now we're going to go ahead and start our edging. So today we're going to be doing double bead edging. It creates that pretty scalloped edge. And so whenever you're starting with whatever bead technique, whether it's single bead edging or double bead edging, you're going to start with 1 extra bead. So in this case, we're going to pick up 3 beads. So I'm going to start my pattern here, picking up orange, white, orange, because I want the white one to pop out. And the way we're going to space it is kind of enough for 2 beads, since we kind of want the 1 bead to pop out, or you can space it wider. It is up to your personal preference how you want it to look. You can definitely play with it, but how I like to place it is about 2 beads, so that second bead is kind of sitting on top to make that flowery edge. So now you're going to go through your beading project. You're going to go around your beading project, kind of like you're stitching. Once you're through, you want your bead kind of sitting straight up and down, and then you're going to come back up through the bottom of that bead, if you can see there. And you're going to come up through, and that's kind of what like tightens both edges together. So that's where you tighten as tight as you'd want your edging to be. So then you can just continue your pattern. So for my pattern, I would pick up a white and then an orange, and then I'm spacing it about like a bead apart, and then I'm coming up through my project, as you can see there. And then you're just going to come back up through that closest orange bead. And then you basically just continue that same process all around, repeating your double beaded pattern. Again, for me, it's picking up white and then orange. Once we're nearly to the end and you really have room for 1 more middle bead, that's when we're going to revisit the extra bead. So what you're going to do is you're going to put on just that middle bead. So in my case, it is that white bead. And I am going to go back down through that extra orange bead we started with. I like to come down through the back because I like to go back out from the back to the front, because I'll typically tie my knot in the front and hide it. And I'll show you how I do that in a moment. So as you can see, there's usually a bit of a gap. You can see it's like a perfect spot for your last stitch. So you can go ahead and do that and pull from the back to the front and pull all the way through. Once you're through, you can revisit that knot technique from earlier. So one I'm gonna do is look for a strong thread to go underneath, and even if going through a bit of foundation is okay with me. And I will pull through until I have a little loop left, and then stick my needle in, give a couple twists, and pull through to get that perfect double knot that's nice and tight. So my personal extra step to kind of hiding the knot and tail is to kind of just stick through somewhere random through my project, usually kind of come out the side a bit. Here I'm struggling, but typically you can find an easier spot to come out. And then what that does is just kind of hides my ends and keeps it tucked in better, and then I'll just snip from there. That way I don't really have to singe it, you don't really see it too much this way, and I think when working with white, I don't want to risk getting that little burn mark that singeing sometimes leaves. So there you go, there's your perfect little orange flower pin, made exactly how it's meant to by your hands, and I am so grateful that we got to create together. I hope this helped you feel a little more confident, a little more connected, and a little less lonely in your beading or cultural reclamation journey. If you want to join a session, learn with us, or find community, you're welcome to. Our art bundles and workshops are here to meet you where you're at home, online, or in person. You can scan the QR code on screen or check out the link to get connected. We'd love to keep creating with you in a good way. Hi, Kananisco Matin. Thank you.